that's it. This is the summary for the day of 703 to 705 for the 27 to 29 of January. So some conclusion. So I talked about conclusion, whether to bring it back. So let's bring it back. And so conclusion is about my opinions, and this is not about, it's not reporting per se. It's more like opinion or analysis. And I continue to watch, focus a lot on the Belgorod or Kursk region, or the Sumy, Kharkiv region, because all these Russian attacks, the shelling, the drone strike, artillery, they even use air strikes, and occasionally, once in the blue moon, there is some raids, and this is very, very disturbing, because it means that the Russians are poised. They are preparing the ground for some offensive, and most likely they will go for Kharkiv again. This is what I think. I think they will go for Kharkiv as well as going through Voschansk to head towards Kupiansk from the west. And this is going to relieve the forces over the Kupyansk Front and create a massive collapse. That, of course, depends on the Ukrainians. How well are they defending the border region between the Kharkiv and Belgorod region? And this could be the initial diversion, and causing a rush. And when the Ukrainians are making the concentration forces in the Kharkiv region to do whatever they can to prevent the fall of Kupyansk Front, the Russians then push through to Sumy, and then they can actually go for another wild run across the northern Ukraine. So this is what I think, something to watch. Of course, it may not happen. It may not happen, but the Ukrainians have to they have to consider that this is a possibility, and any breakthrough, especially through Voschansk, is going to cause a direct threat towards Kupiansk, and so that is going to be a problem. And the Kupiansk Front is also very interesting. This breakthrough from Kremelny is particularly interesting, as the Ukrainian forces, the territorial defense in this area here got broke down. I think the Ukrainians also seems to have trouble bringing in their more experienced troops, and also the equipments to come to reinforce this line, which the failure of which now lost Tabaivka, and with the Russian forces continue to put pressure on Tabaivka, which is here, as well as moving south towards Berestove. So the Russian forces are pushing westward towards Pishani from the south of Kremelny, and they are now going to push from the newly taken Tabaivka towards Pishani, which is causing a pincer. And this pincer is going to be very difficult to defend if the Ukrainian forces are still not formed up, because ultimately you should have to understand that the front line has suddenly changed by 3 kilometers or even 4 kilometers or 5 kilometers suddenly within a week. And this sudden change means that the Ukrainian forces in these rear positions will have no time to dig in, unless they already prepare all this entrenchment. They have the 3rd or 4th line of defense. I personally not too sure if they have prepared that, or the Ukrainian forces are prepared to do that, because you can have trenches but you don't have mines, and you have no mines or no prepared anti-tank guided missiles positions or heavy machine gun positions. It's going to be difficult to defend against a heavy attack. So we will continue to monitor to see how the Russians going to play out this situation, and let's see what else do I have an opinion on. Not this area here is really very stagnant. There's some frontline changes, but I don't think it's going to change a lot. Kremlin front is really creamy, is all creamed up. The Perezhny is a very interesting report. Like I mentioned during the sit rep, the Russian Defense Ministry mentioned Ukrainian attacking in the area of Perezhny. Seems to suggest that the Russians have some positions near to Perezhny for them to call out or use this location name, and I find this very interesting. It might reflect a possible frontline change that is still not reported or known by any of the open source intelligence. So we shall continue to monitor to see if this is the case. If it is true, which means that the Russian forces may have captured all these hills. These are all the hills north of Vasily, that's overlooking Vasily, and these are all very strong positions, defensive positions for the Ukrainians. And if Perezhny is a sign that the Russians have captured all these hills, there is going to be a big problem, because the Russians will be breaking through to Vimka very, very quickly. So I just want to continue to highlight that yeah, this kind of thing is how intel work. This is just taking small signals and try to understand what could it be meaning. And of course, it's not absolute. This is not the truth. It's just a way to guide our minds to try to spot things. Bakhmut Front has basically went dead. It's basically now a positional warfare thing. Ukrainians are trying at New York. At Shumi, they are attacking Pivdene. In this area as well, due to the geolocation, we now know in the north of Sharobauka and Pinishne. And the objective is Holiivka. To at least threaten Holiivka. Holiivka is super important because if you see, this is Donetsk city, and it leads up to Holiivka, and Holiivka leads up to Bakhmut. This chain of these three cities is what is supporting the Russian offensive. They are providing the Russians a base to operate from. So Holiivka, if broken, is going to be disastrous for the Russians, as the Ukrainian forces would head in this direction, and they can cause a lot of problems if and especially if the Russians have no defending forces in the rear of Holiivka, or they do not have a very good prepared position. Then the Ukrainians can have a breakthrough, but it looks very unlikely because the initiative is really on the Russian side. And over at the Avdiivka front, the Russians are attacking in all directions. The Ukrainians still have not acknowledged the capture of this stronghold north of Spartak. They call it Zenith or Zenit in terms of this name. The Russians are continuing to make slow but gradual progress in the south. Pressure continued to be built up all along the front line, but Ukrainians are defending well so far. The only problem is the south. The south is really falling apart. So we look at the south again. The Russians are pushing towards the filtration station. They are either closing the gap, or they already closed the gap, and they are trying to retain to get the full control of the southern neighborhood, and they are also pushing out of Opitne, and the Ukrainian forces seems to be falling back in all directions. So the Ukrainians, however, are counterattacking, particularly towards this neighborhood. So we continue to monitor and see how this goes. Whether there will be more breakthroughs from the Russian side, or the Ukrainians will be able to hold the line, or even counterattack and push them back. But I think counterattack and push them back is rather unlikely, because this area here is too entrenched. There's too much trenches and defensive positions in the south of Avdiivka, which means that the Russians can use them. These are all built by the Ukrainians, but the Russians can use them. So that is something to note. And Novo Mifa, this is a long time coming. The Russians have already claimed the front line is here for a very long time, super long, and the Ukrainians finally acknowledged the loss of this territory. I'm not sure why. Perhaps there could be some geolocation that I did not see, that the Deep State UA have seen, which allows them to acknowledge the loss of this territory. So we will continue to monitor. The Russians are still trying to attack Novo Mifa in multiple directions. However, the assault in the south has already been abandoned tentatively. They are not trying anymore. And another one of this, I think is important to note, Zolota Neva. This one we have to take a look. This is looking very serious. If the Russians take this settlement, it's going to be quite a lot of problems for Voleda, because Voleda is under threat from both sides. The Russians are trying to push to capture Konstantinivka, and they are now pushing towards Zolota Neva. And if they take Zolota Neva, this road is gone. Konstantinivka, this road is gone. Then reinforcing Voleda is going to be a problem. But of course, nowadays Voleda, the reinforcement is coming mainly from Konstantinivka. Prishestivka is very hard because Balivka is already been captured. So anyway, other ways are they have to go through the farms, through Bohoyelenka. So we shall see how this goes. And the rest of the front line, I think, is not that interesting, except for, like I said, Nesterianka. This is also very important. Heading towards Orikhiv, force the fighting to be concentrated at Orikhiv. The Ukrainian forces will have to withdraw from the salient because they will not be able to concentrate at defending this area here. But we shall see how this goes. This is just my projections. And yeah, that's it. This is the conclusions. And thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. And hopefully you like the format. It does takes a bit of editing. But if I have no time, I will not edit. I just have to tell you in advance. But when I have time, if I can, I will do the editing. And thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next update.